don't even know how to start videos anymore, but so mental health updates while I have the house to myself for I don't know how long. So most relevant, I guess, seeing the psychiatrist. What's today? Today's Friday. So on Wednesday, 2 days ago, saw the psychiatrist, and my blood test results aren't in, so I haven't been prescribed anything else, which is a little bit like, it's kind of a relief in the sense that I don't want to go through side effects again. And I kind of don't trust anything at this point. But on the other hand, I have been pretty depressed, and it's just like waiting and waiting and constantly waiting to hopefully find something that'll help me. So yeah, mixed bag there. But I think the psychiatrist finally understands my issue with side effects, because I gave him a list of what I went through taking the half dose of metazapine just once. And he seemed a bit taken aback, and he was a bit surprised. Like he said, I think the drowsiness and the dizziness are the two things that most people might get. And it sounded like for not as long as I did on such a small dose. And he said that most people experience more of a calming effect, and so I guess that's part of the antidepressant, maybe anti-anxiety kinds of things that it does. Maybe that's also tied to the sleep thing, I don't know. But I had a list of like a dozen different things that I went through, and he's sort of reading it like, okay. And yeah, so I think he now realizes, yeah, I'm definitely not kidding about everything I go through, and my previous psychiatrist is not kidding talking about all of that. So yeah, when we're talking about like, getting to the end of the session, he's like, do you want to try anything else? And I said, I think I'll wait for the blood test, because the blood test might say, don't take that next drug that we're looking at. And, I would rather wait for the test results than take it anyway, not knowing whether it's on the list, and then have the side effects. You have to get it out of my system and then have to recover from it again, and like the whole process of that, it's too much. So yeah, I decided not to. So in terms of psychiatry, we're waiting for those blood test results to come in. They should come in soon, but so far nothing. And then yeah, once they come in, we'll organize another appointment, but he's out of town for a couple of weeks, so it could be a while before I get any help there. So yeah, that's an update on the psychiatry. It's basically nothing. Meanwhile, psychology, not a lot really happening. I mean, I go in, I talk about more stuff. She might make the occasional suggestion, but it's like I already have that handled, or it's not relevant to me, or whatever. So yeah, the whole psych treatment is not going well, and I am going through a bit more of a depressive spiral at the moment. I wonder, so I had the metazapine, I had that weekend of absolute fatigue and everything else that went on, which I made the videos about. And then after that, so because metazapine has an antihistamine, a strong antihistamine effect on the H1 receptor or whatever, I have pretty bad hay fever, and so I've been using nasal sprays and occasionally the kids' Dimetap, because that's all I can tolerate. And I thought, before I take the metazapine, I'm not going to take any antihistamines, because I don't want it to like compound the effect. I know I have bad side effects, so better to, try and reduce the risk of that by not having, extra antihistamines. So I did that, but when I came off the metazapine and it finally got out of my system and was all cleared up, I think that's when my hay fever started up again. Now, the way my hay fever works these days is I don't so much get the sneezing kind of thing that you would expect. I was just getting really bad headaches and nothing was really fixing it, but I went back on the Dymista nasal spray, and after I'd done that for a few goes, over a couple of days, it finally cleared up. And so I think that might have been the hay fever thing. Like I was prescribed Dymista originally because my ear got blocked, and when he said that's hay fever, I was like, really? So yeah, hay fever is presenting very strangely in me these days, and that's why I'm never quite sure. So I don't know if hay fever was the reason for the headaches, but seems to have worked. And so yeah, I got back on the Dymista, also Nasonex. So I sort of like alternate between Dymista and Nasonex because Dymista's expensive and I don't have a high level of private health cover because it's not on the PBS, it's not covered by Medicare, so private health is the only thing I can use, and I don't have a lot, so I can get like one for free, and then after that I'm pretty much, you know, on my own mostly. So yeah, I've been alternating with the Nasonex and then occasionally have the kids' Dimetap. But you know, I remember when I went through all that stuff, you know, going through trying to work out how to solve my hay fever, when I first tried Nasonex, I think it made me kind of depressed. And so I wonder if what happened is maybe, I mean, you know, I've sort of been on this terrible decline, like really slow, steady decline with my life pretty much for the past few years, possibly because the pandemic made it, like, you know, got me out of practice with living in the real world. Yeah, my hair looks crazy and I'm in my Mickey Mouse pajamas because trying to get this done. Focus brain, what are we talking about? We're talking about hay fever. Yeah, so, you know, I did have an initial bad reaction to Nasonex in terms of feeling depressed. I don't know that I had that with Dymista. I think I was so messed up with the blocked ear at the time that I just had, like, you know, the cost benefit made sense. And then I think with, like, whether Dymista had this effect or not, with Nasonex, after a while using it, I think I got used to it, and so it wasn't having such a big effect on my mood. But I wonder if, because I stopped everything to try the mirtazapine and then restarted all the hay fever stuff, I wonder if that has triggered a bit of a downswing in my mood. On the other hand, it could be that, you know, I was hoping the psychiatrist would be able to help, and then that happened, and it's sort of like a disappointing thing. Like, in the lead up, there was a sort of waiting to see the psychiatrist, and it's in the future. So, you know, there's still hope. And then I get there, and then that happens, and it's like, hope is dashed. And, I know that sounds weird with my dog being called Hope. But anyway, yeah, no, I wonder if there's a bit of that disappointment. It's probably a combination of things in my life just continuing to be a nothing burger at this point in time. Yeah, so I've had some really bad depression, and so, you know, I got through the mirtazapine side effects, got it out of my system, got through the headaches with the hay fever stuff, and then after that, I had a really bad crash. And, you know, like, I don't cry often on camera, but I do cry a bit when I'm depressed. And that's probably, like, if I'm crying, that's probably a sign that I'm depressed, because there are plenty of periods of time where I don't at all, and everything's neutral at least. Yeah, so usually I would just sort of, like, cry in bed or quietly, and there's the, like, silent scream kind of thing. That's usually about as bad as it gets, but there was this one day where I was sobbing really loudly, and remembering it is really bizarre because I've sort of disconnected myself from having that, like, almost immediately after it happened, you know, I got to a point where I was all cried out with the loud sobbing, and thank God no one was on the bottom floor to hear that, because I don't know how loud it was. I don't know if I don't think the neighbors would have heard it through the wall, but anyway, yeah, so I was all cried out and then had to deal with the whole snottiness. You know, that's the worst part of crying for me, is the grossness. That to, you know, I actually brought a box of tissues into my room and just sat by the bin and was, like, clearing my nose out. And then, so after that, I just went back to this sort of neutral state and had this odd feeling of disconnection from what I had literally just experienced. And that is a bit unusual for me with depression. So, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I had that long period of depression, which is when I started doing more YouTube again, because I was so depressed I didn't know what else to do. Anyway, so, like, that long period of depression, I would feel like that sort of depressed thing pretty much constantly and then have crashes. Whereas now I tend to kind of feel like kind of neutral and then I'll crash. And so I wonder if my brain is just, like, blocking things out. I'm not trying to block it out, it's just like this subconscious thing, and then maybe I don't realize how depressed I am, because that is some of the worst crying I've done possibly in my life. And it was just weird to have gone through that, and I remember going through that, but I'm like, what? Did I do that? Really? So, strange experience there. I'm not sure why. I'm like, am I in some kind of weird denial of what my brain is doing there? Anyway, it was pretty bad. And since then, I've had a few more really bad moments, and a lot of sort of suicidal thoughts and a lot of just morbid stuff going through my head. So yeah, none of them as bad as that one, and so that's why I think maybe it's the Nasonex kind of going back on hay fever treatment things. Like I didn't think I took that big a break, but I had been trying to like phase out that stuff, and so maybe suddenly doing it all again, I went on it too suddenly. I don't know. But it's kind of hard to do a low dose when it's like a set spray kind of thing up your nose. Anyway, yeah, no, I just wonder, because it seems so sudden and so extreme, I wonder if it's chemical rather than whatever, I don't know. Yeah, and so I've been pretty down since then, and that's why, last night I did the Beyond Earth, Civilizations Beyond Earth, Rising Tide, whatever game, and I think I talked more than I planned to, but I was just like, yeah, and I haven't been doing much YouTube lately because I'm just like, there's always something going on, and I'm so tired, and it's just, sometimes vlogging feels pointless, but I don't know what else to do with myself, and I think I do need a good vent now and then. Anyway, so, but also, other things have been kind of stressful lately, so, I mentioned this in live streams. I don't know if I've mentioned this elsewhere, but my cousin is staying with us. She's come from Japan, and she's staying with us for about 3 months. And okay, cool. She's cheerful. She's helping out with Mikey. Mikey loves her. He'll walk right past me and go look for her when he gets home, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. At least we know where we stand, Mikey. Yeah, I'm the scary one. I'm the bossy one, so he's not that into me, and that's fine. Anyway, yeah, but the thing is, so she's staying in my other brother's old room, which is the room that I moved all my stuff to. So my drum kit's in there, my music stuff is in there, my art desk is in there, my wigs are in there, and I was sort of under the impression that I'd still be able to access that room more, but she's only been here for not even a week yet, and so she's trying to find a job locally, and at the moment, and sort of settling in. So for these first few days, I haven't really been able to go in there, and I was reading a book in there. I've been trying to read a little bit every day, and I've actually made some progress, so yay me. But instead of being able to read in there, where the light is really good, this room is really dark. It's the darkest part of the house, basically. Apart from under the stairs, the little space. Anyway. Yeah, this room's pretty dark, and the light isn't really that great. It's all artificial light. If I open the windows, hardly anything comes in. So yeah, I was sort of getting comfy in there, reading on that bed there, and now I can't. And, she's been studying English, and she'll close the door, and so I feel like it's rude if I go in and be like, I want to play with my art stuff, and so I haven't been able to do that, and, yeah, so I left the art studio in Balgala and set one up here, and now I kind of can't use it much. I did the day, or maybe the day after she got here, I don't remember, I was doing a little postcard for Scribe Chronicler, and she sort of, I just got the vibe that she was like, why are you in here kind of feeling? She didn't say that, she's polite, she's Japanese, but I just felt a little bit awkward, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. So yeah, sort of navigating that is a little bit and, but today she's at the beach, she likes the beach, and she's also, I gave her some suggestions on where to hand out resumes, and so she's doing a bit of that, and the parents are at the gym, so I have the place to myself finally, and I think I'm having a bit of a schizoid kind of moment, because it's been so crowded, even if she's just doing her own thing, the fact that she's on the bottom floor with me, and I don't know what I don't know what I'm expected to do. I thought I was going to have to help her get an Opal card. I mean, I told Mum, you don't need an actual Opal card to use Sydney's system. You can use a credit card. She's had a job here, and she was in Brisbane before, and so she already set up a bank account. So she has a local credit card, she can use that, but Mum didn't believe me for ages. And it's only like once she actually got here, it's like, oh yeah, just use the credit card. I'm like, thanks. So didn't have to do that in the end. But yeah, it's just like, what am I expected to do? Am I supposed to entertain her? And then also, you know, Japanese culture, me being older, in terms, and that puts me higher in the hierarchy, and so I'm supposed to look after her, but I don't know if I'm like, or do I just do the Aussie thing, or do I just do the depressed, mentally ill thing and keep to myself? I don't know what's expected of me. And also some things with mum and dad, I'm like, I feel like they should be doing things that they're not doing in this situation, so the social thing is a bit, and yeah, just feeling kind of crowded, and so my brain is a bit like, and then with YouTube stuff, you know, like I haven't gotten used to her life pattern, so, you know, usually dad would go to work during the week, mum goes to the gym at certain times, and I know what her timetable is, and so I know the window of time that I have to myself, and Mikey goes out every day, but yeah, with my cousin here, I don't know her schedule yet, and you know, she's gone out places but then come home very early, like in the middle of the day, and I'm like, oh, didn't even get started with anything. And then when she's here, even if she goes and watches the TV or is in the room with the door closed, I still feel kind of awkward, because like, I can be really noisy when I have the place to myself. Obviously when I have the place to myself, I can make YouTube, and that's a bit weird. The rest of the time I can be kind of like quiet and withdrawn. But another thing, if I have the place to myself, is I will do random singing practice in random rooms, because some rooms echo more than others, and then sometimes my dog wants to come and howl with me, and so we'll make a huge racket, and I'm like, I can't really do that when my cousin's here, especially because I don't think she knows how crazy I am. Like, I've heard mum talking to her before she came here, you know, through one of those video calling things, and I don't understand a lot of Japanese, but I understand enough, and like there's enough English words peppered in there that she was telling her about me having some kind of mental issue. I don't know exactly specifically what she said, but so like my cousin knows that I've got some kind of problem, and I have mentioned things about depression, like the way I talk about depression, especially when my other brother, he came to visit, I kind of like joke about it and, you know, downplay it. That's the easiest way to like I'm trying not to pretend that I don't have depression, but talking about it is just easier if you just be like, oh yeah, I'm so depressed that I'm doing this, and everyone's like, ha ha, but actually I mean it a lot of the time, so that's kind of weird. Anyway, so yeah, I just don't know how much she knows that I'm crazy, and then I don't think my parents entirely know that I make a lot of noise at home sometimes. There have been occasional moments where they've like walked in and I've not known, and so maybe while they were walking down the side of the house, they might have heard me going off, and I'll sort of like jump and be like, oh, and stop everything when I realize they're home. I don't think they know though, because there are some fun things that you can do with sound, with vocals, and like depending on the shape of the room, and also just what my voice is like that day and what I feel like doing. Anyway, so yeah, I haven't had that kind of freedom, and I've felt like that sort of crowdedness, and doing live streams. That's why last night with the live stream I said I'm probably not going to talk much, because even just like people walking by, it was hard. It's been hard enough for me to get used to people walking by when I do a live stream normally, and now she's here and I'm like, I mean, I think she did go by at one point last night. Like there were a few times where I'm playing the game and I'm like looking over there, and I think she was walking by and she may have heard me talking to myself and been like, I wonder what's that. I mean, I guess most people know that there are things like video calls, and I don't know, it's just it feels uncomfortable. And so yeah, I'm still getting used to that kind of situation. But you know, once she gets a job, because she wants to save money, one of the reasons for staying with us is we're not charging rent. She's just helping with Mikey, and mum's happy with that. And so she can save a lot of money here, and also in Australia, pay is a lot better than in Japan. So she's trying to save up money to go on another holiday. Yeah, so she's looking for a job. Once she has a job, I don't know how much I'll see of her, because between that and going to the beach and maybe doing some sightseeing around Sydney, yeah, I don't know whether she'll be around much. Now, hopefully I'll get some idea of her schedule, And then maybe things will go back to some kind of normal. But at the moment, I'm just feeling really crowded. And the other thing is, even if she does get a job though, if I want to make music on my music computer at nighttime, probably not going to happen because she'll be in there. So I'll get to the music. Yeah, no, I'll just jump to the music thing. So like in terms of being depressed, I haven't really done music stuff, and I have 3 sort of music projects at the moment. There's obviously my Destroyer Mariko solo project. There's another one with a guitarist who hasn't got back to me in a while. She was studying ambulance stuff, or I don't know, and I don't hear much from her, so I'm not sure if that is still going, and I don't know whether to chase it up, and it's sort of been like this a lot, and there's nothing much I can do without her, so that one's on pause. Then there's another music project, which does look like it could have more legs, but I've been really uninspired, and then the person I'm working with hasn't really checked in on me. Like, I checked in one time, but I kind of don't have a sense that they care that much. I don't know, maybe they're just socially awkward, but I don't know. And because I've been depressed, I've just been like, like the music's good, but I'm trying to write lyrics. I just trying to inspire myself. I'm really struggling to find the energy for it, and and I think what I realize is, like, the trouble with all these projects is, at this stage, they're just studio projects. I don't even, like, obviously there's my solo ones, I'm just at home, and there's no pressure to get anything out there, because the only person I'm annoying if I don't is myself. Maybe a few people who are waiting for music from me, but, that doesn't matter. I'm talking about, like, directly involved, I'm the only person, so that's fine. With that one that's on hold, with my friend, because she's not checking in on me, there's no pressure there. And then with this other one, again, more legs, but not checking in on me, and I don't even know if they give a shit. And that's actually been kind of a long-term pattern there as well, even though there are tracks now for me to work on. I don't see any of them, and there's no guarantee of gigs with any of them, and gigging is the part in music that to me makes it worthwhile, because I don't feel much, but I can feel adrenaline, and I made a video about this a while back, and so I just don't know if there's any gig, and I realize I still need to find a real band, like an in real life band, and there's a lot in that. There's the people who'll be waiting on me every week to do my part. There's the actually going somewhere every week, which would get me sort of back into, getting outside the house and getting outside my little bubble and actually going places, going out into the world and interacting with the world, because I'm so detached from the world right now. Like, it feels weird that anything exists outside my house, basically. That's how bad it's gotten. It's just like nothing is real. The fact that cars have all these fancy touch screens and sensors now, I feel like I'm in some kind of alternate reality. A band that actually gets together to practice, I feel, is much more likely to actually go and gig, especially spending money on a rehearsal room. You want to go out and gig. And, I struggle to interact with people unless there's a specific reason. I can't just hang out. There needs to be something. And so if it's, like, band prac, then I'm being social, but without being too, like, social in the wrong way. I don't know if that makes sense. And I feel like that's how I get back into music, have that sort of pressure to, like, I don't like letting people down, so that pressure to actually do the work. And then a bit more of a, like, reward that actually exists is we'll actually get out there and gig, but I can't find such a band that fulfills my other requirements of them being competent and, being open to my odd vocal style and, not making me do all the work. I don't want to be a band mum. I want to be part of the band, not trying to herd cats, which is kind of what I've done in the past. So I'm just realizing that as much as it seems like a good idea to either do music myself or music with one person, write everything first and then think about gigging, I think I actually need the in-person band thing. I'm not happy with this staying at home doing the studio stuff. It's not giving me what I need to actually like I need the gig thing to be more in sight. And I could do that with my solo project, but the open mics I used to go to still haven't come back since COVID, and I haven't had the energy to go and check out any others, and I feel like I should check them out before I sign myself up, just to make sure it's actually where I want to gig. So until I can actually find the energy to go to some of these gigs, how can I gig myself? So there's that. Whereas if it was in a band, at least someone in the band probably knows whether it's a place worth gigging. And also, as a soloist, like, I know what places to gig as a band. I don't know what places to gig as a soloist, and certainly not in industrial. All my band experience is more metal. I know the metal scene. I don't really know the industrial scene. I know a couple people, and I've said, hey, do you wanna, but no one ever contacts me. I'm always contacting everyone else. And so it's a bit like, well, fuck, why am I trying so hard with you people and you don't give a shit, you know? You know, sometimes it's the same people who are like, if you ever want to talk, if you ever need help, and it's like, bullshit. Anyway, so yeah, basically reinforcing the feeling that you can't trust anyone, and I'm like, yeah, good job guys, reinforce my personality disorder. Anyway, you know, like, I can kind of see, I mean, I would rather just stay home and do nothing, but in terms of logic and trying to fix my life and trying to get out there, and I can see I need to do more stuff anyway. So yeah, music, kind of dead to that at the moment with this heavy depression, and I can see that I need a band to really like shake myself out of it. There's a study, the famous study about the dogs with learned helplessness. The group 3 dogs were the ones who were given no option to escape. Have I rambled about this study? So it's like, you know, you've got 3 sets of dogs. You've got the floor in the cage is electrified, but they can escape to this other part. You know, they just jump over the wall to the other part, not electrified. So the first group of dogs, there's no barrier, they jump over, they're fine. Second group of dogs, they have to press a lever or something to open the thing, and then they can escape. Third group of dogs, no matter what they do, there's no escape. So after a while, they just sit down and let themselves be shocked. And later, when the experimenters try to get these group 3 dogs to jump over, like they try and show them that there's an escape with treats, like they change it so that they can escape, and they show the dogs, come with a treat, or, you know, watch another dog escape and all that, but because the dogs are just so defeated at that point, they won't do it. And I was reading that the only way they could fix these dogs was to physically pick them up, show them that they, like, physically move them to show them they could escape, and they had to do that twice to get the dogs to realize, oh, I can escape, and sort of recover from that helpless state. And I think I'm a bit like that. I'm a human though, so I can logic my way through it. But I think, like, my, in terms of music, my experimenter picking me up and showing me that I can escape would have to be being in a band again, because, yeah, the solo stuff and these, you know, studio-only collaborations, they're not doing it for me. And especially when the other person doesn't seem to give a shit, they're not picking me up and putting me in the safe part of the cage, are they? Whereas with a band, I have to do stuff, but having that extra thing set up, I think, is as close as I'm going to get to having someone picking me up. And showing me that life doesn't suck so much is the hope anyway. This is all theory, because I haven't been able to put any of it into practice. I mean, I guess there are other ways that people could help me, but no one has the time or interest to, yeah, pick me up and take me through the motions and do it twice to make sure it sticks. So anyway, I think those are some of the main things. One more stressor is Mum went to this legal disability, like disability and legal planning kind of thing in terms of Mikey's situation. Mikey's my brother who's disabled and a big part of my trauma. I think someone might be coming home. I don't know, but yeah, the conversation around that, I think, is going to be very distressing, and that doesn't help. But I don't know that I should really talk so much about that, and I don't know if someone's going to come home soon, and this is, oh, we almost made it to 30 minutes, so that's a pretty good vent and update. And yeah, just I'm struggling a lot at the moment, so video's pretty thin, and I'm probably just going to live stream a bunch of gaming, and, you know, that's just where I'm at the moment. I know YouTube seems to prefer me talking about mental health stuff, especially if I mention Schizoid But that's just not where I'm at, and I'm not that sort of real YouTuber who's going to look at all that and be like, I better give the people what they want. Nah, fuck you. I'm gonna do what I need, never mind what you want. But thank you, Solar Scribe, Chronicler, my Patreon cult, my t-shirt cult, and it's almost 12 p.m, so I better get dressed and pretend I'm doing something with my day. I don't even know what to do with my day today, so... Well, this is the first thing. And then maybe I'll just go back to playing a game or something. Probably not Super Meat Boy while I'm so deflated, but maybe, yeah, Civilizations and Nexamon, and... yeah, and then I'll try and find these brief moments where I can actually film something. It's just, yeah, I feel really crowded. And I think one of the things about, you know, the schizoid stuff doesn't affect me that much these days, probably because I don't socialize very much. Like, I can socialize. Hang on. There isn't any sound, so I'll just ramble a bit more. But, like, I can talk really easily in a sort of psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor kind of context. But that's because it's all about me, and I don't have to give a shit about the other person. I think that's one of the things. Whereas with family stuff, like, it's sort of expected that you will give a shit about other people, and I know that, you know, it would help if other people gave more of a shit about me in return, but never mind that. My brain has expectations, there's social expectations, whatever. So I think, like, you know, one-sidedness makes it easier for me to socialize. Otherwise, I just sort of sit there and pretend to give a shit about people's whatever, and just sort of nod and smile, and I don't know, there's a lot to think about, and I might be selling myself short in some ways. And also, like, schizoid, I think part of the condition is we convince ourselves that it's okay, and that leads to some of the distorted thinking, which is very hard to untangle, and I try, but then I keep coming back to this, nah, I'd rather just win the lottery. If I could win, like, one of those $10 million jackpots, then I could buy a nice house in a nice area, put in some kind of investment so I get a decent amount of money every year just from investing without having to do anything. And then I can pay for, you know, Ubers to drive me places, delivery, food delivery, because I'm not going to be able to do that myself, look after myself. Maybe I could hire someone to pick me up and show me that life isn't terrible. So I really need to win the lottery. Sad face, and I'm gonna stop rambling. Should I tell you to take care, or what kind of ending? I don't even know. Bye.